Who's the biggest winner of Week 13, Dave?
I don't know if there is one. I don't know if there's a guy who's just an absolute huge winner for the week. I don't know if there is one. I don't know if there's anybody out there.
All right, look at the list of winners you sent me. Pacheco.
I know who I sent you. I sent you 3 running backs, but I don't know if
the answer is DeAndre Swift, because DeAndre Swift is one of the most talented running backs in football.
You say
when he's healthy enough and his team trusts him enough to give him the football, and they gave him the football in this game, and he delivered once again. He came off the injury report again this week. If he's not on the injury report next week, you should expect DeAndre Swift to be a top 15 running back.
Okay, I like that. Heath, good job. All right, Dave, since you're Nancy negative over there, negative Nancy.
I'm not Nancy negative, but you're right. Who's the big winner? Oh, it's DeAndre Swift.
For the first time all year, I asked you the big winner. Come on, like you knew that was coming.
I know who's coming. All right, fine. I'll give you another running back that totaled over 100 yards and should have had a touchdown.
You're doing a loser now.
It's okay. Let Dave do it.
I'll give you Zonovan Knight. I think he came through. Fantasy managers who might have been nervous to start him clearly saw that he's the lead running back for the Jets. And even though he didn't play on a lot of third downs, he still caught 5 passes, had an awesome run to put the Jets in great range to, I think that's when they scored their touchdown, actually. They might have settled for a field goal. I don't remember. It all blends together. But he looked good, and I think he's the number 2 fantasy running back moving forward.
All right, there we go. Biggest loser. Heath, you got the biggest loser?
I mean, it's got to be Deshaun Watson. And I will admit, I've not seen every pass of Deshaun Watson's from this game.
I did.
But this is one of those stat lines where you don't need to. He was just atrocious, and there wasn't really much of a role for him in the running game either. They didn't do creative things. Now, granted, they scored defensive touchdowns and special teams touchdowns, and they're playing the worst team in football, and the Texans are awesome at tanking. But there was nothing to hang your hat on as encouraging. In fact, it looked very much like what we saw in the preseason. I did not expect the rust to last the entire game, and I don't know how you could have any confidence at all ranking him as a top 12 quarterback in his next game against the Bengals.
Okay, yeah, it was a bad one. It was only 22 pass attempts. 130
so,
yards, 1 pick, 4.6 fantasy points at Houston, and they are at the Bengals, who just did a very nice job against Patrick Mahomes. So do you even hang on to Deshaun Watson, or do you think he's droppable?
I think you have to hold on to him because you've got to figure that the game comes back to him. And I counted 7 plays in the first 3 to 3.5 quarters where he just threw the ball where no good quarterback should throw it. It was just off target, terrible throws, awful interception. He just did not look anything close to the Deshaun Watson that we remember.
Man, I'm seeing
there were like maybe 3 or 4 throws
now
look decent, but
fairness,
3 or 4.
He threw 9 times to Amari Cooper, and Amari Cooper was on the road, so he's one of the worst wide receivers in the NFL. So maybe if he throws to Amari Cooper at home, then things will be okay.
I think one of the ones he threw to Amari Cooper was in the end zone, and it was intercepted. So that was a bad play for Watson. Okay, so our biggest winners are DeAndre Swift and Zonovan Knight. Our biggest loser is Deshaun Watson. Dave's winners are 3 running backs. 2 of them we've talked about. Zonovan Knight, who was started in 45% of leagues, and DeAndre Swift, who was started in 56% of leagues. Quick follow-up on Knight, and then we'll talk about your other guy, Isaiah Pacheco, who had 82 total yards and a touchdown with 2 catches at the Bengals. What happens when Michael Carter gets back, in your opinion? Zonovan Knight is what?
I still think he's going to be the main running back for the Jets. It could be a week-to-week thing by the time Michael Carter comes back. But this coaching staff has never really seemed to trust Michael Carter to be a feature guy. And I think that they are realizing that Zonovan Knight can be. So you'll probably see Zonovan Knight. I think you'll see Ty Johnson go back to the bench. You'll probably see Michael Carter working a lot of those third downs and passing downs. And you'll see Zonovan Knight working.
And James Robinson will be inactive again.
James Robinson will be like he is invisible.
We got a question here in the chat from Adam HTX. Do you have the snap counts for the Lions game?
I've got the snap count for every game, Adam HTX.
Isn't that Dave's music?
No,
Dave's music is dun 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 dun. All right, Zonovan played 55% of the snaps. 11 of 12 inside the 10. Ty Johnson, 34% of the snaps, 14 of 21 on 3rd and 4th down. James Big Dog Robinson, 10% of the snaps.
That's the circus. Why are you putting him in the circus?
It's just, that was the song that came to my mind.
Slickus, liquor upper, Davy. All right, Isaiah Pacheco. Man, all three of these running backs, Knight, Swift, and Pacheco, were started in 45 to 56% of leagues. Pacheco right down the middle, 50% started. And he's got 14 or more carries in 4 straight games. He's at Denver next week, then at Houston. All right, your thoughts on Pacheco?
The one thing I don't like about Pacheco is that he split reps evenly with McKinnon. Rojo was in for 6% of snaps, too. Shout out for the cameo of doing nothing, Ronald Jones. And McKinnon had all the high-value leverage snaps except for a few. And one of them Pacheco scored on. 10 of 13 snaps on 3rd and 4th downs for McKinnon. 8 of 11 snaps inside the 10 for McKinnon. So the fact that Pacheco had the game that he did, kind of feel like we got a little lucky with that. But he continues to look good when he plays. Wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs gave him more work as the season rolls on, including next week at Denver. And then he's got Houston after that. And then Seattle after that. And then Denver again after that.
You reference the high leverage snaps. Like, I still think they believe Jerick McKinnon's their best running back. They just don't believe Jerick McKinnon can be a lead running back until the Super Bowl. And so I think I do think it's more likely towards the end of the year. Now, against Denver and Houston, maybe not. Those seem like the perfect time to use Isaiah Pacheco.
Right. And I think they might want to do that, Heath. They might want to get Pacheco building his confidence, understanding what his run assignments are, so that they can use him on running downs and near the goal line.
I think it's basically tying one of their hands behind their back and playing football, but they might. They're doing it right now.
Heath's winners are Cam Akers, who is only 62% rostered, still available in some leagues. Gets the Raiders next week. He had 17 carries, 60 yards, and 2 touchdowns with 1 catch against Seattle. He was obviously a big surprise, started in 9% of leagues. Cam Akers and Cole Kmet, 6 catches for 72 yards on 7 targets, going into a bye next week. All right, so if Akers and DJ Dallas were looking at you on the waiver wire and we knew Walker, let's say Walker was going to miss 2 games, who would you pick up?
I think I'd rather have Cam Akers, because it's not just that he plays the Raiders next week. He plays the Raiders, then he plays the Packers. You've got the Chargers in week 17. He's got a pretty fantastic schedule. Kyron Williams just completely disappeared. I think he had three carries in the game. And the offense with Wolford at quarterback, at least, I mean, it looked like a bad NFL offense, but it at least looked more like an NFL offense.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to be 13 points a game the rest of the way, especially against those defenses. I think Akers has a chance to be a high-end flex, maybe even a number 2 running back. I'm
not certain that there's been a Rams running back with as big of a snap share as Akers had in week 13. Now, I believe Kyron had 70% last week.
Right. It's like I can't trust them to be consistent.
Maybe, but Akers ran well. It's 73%. And finally, the Rams have a player who looks good and knows how to play football and can put up some numbers and can get first downs and maybe even score a touchdown or 2. And they use him 3 or 4 snaps inside the 10. I think that he's going to give them something. And I think he can give them something. I think he'd be the one that I would add as well.
I mean, this is good for him. 17 carries for 60 yards. He has been such an inefficient running back.
I'd probably go DJ Dallas in my YPC leagues.
No, I would go Cam Akers because I don't think DJ Dallas is going to tear it up. But I'm just saying.
No, but I think the couple of carries he gets, he'll have a good yards per carry.
I'm just saying,
right, 11 nice 10 for 40.
He actually won't. But I have a hard time buying in any Rams running back. I mean, Cam Akers doesn't run the ball well, and every time you think you know who the Rams running back is going to be, it's the other guy, or they cut Darrell Henderson or something like that. So
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I definitely would pick him up, but that's
of course you would.
Kyron Williams.
You're not asking me if I would trust him over like Pacheco or anything like that. You asked me who I like better between him.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm arguing with Heath, who's taking these YPC shots at me.
Cole, what are you arguing with me? What did I say that you disagree with?
You just a little condescending with the YPC.
But you agree with me that you would pick up Cam Akers?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just wouldn't. I don't. If DJ Dallas is going to be in a timeshare with Travis Homer, I do not want DJ Dallas. Like, he's not a good NFL running back. I think Homer would be the guy if they were both healthy, personally. But
I don't think Homer's going to get more than like 6 to 8 carries in any game.
I'd be stunned if he had that many.
He's like Ty Johnson, Northwest Pacific Ty Johnson.
Heath's winners are Akers and Komet. So Komet had a nice game here without Mooney, and hooray for Cole Komet. Oh,
clear
number
one
I have a question.
option. What?
Komet or Kittle after the bye? Komet or Kittle?
Unless something major changes next week, I'd say Komet.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, discuss.
No, I was just saying, like the clear number one guy, Justin Fields' favorite target. I think when he comes back from the bye, I was gonna say like we had a 6 this week that we felt okay with. I think we have a 7 after Cole Komet's bye that we feel okay with at tight end. I'm not optimistic for 8, but
yeah,
7's nice.
All right, let's go to the losers.
Don't be surprised if Komet's on the loser list 3 weeks from now or something like that, where he has a
tight end,
4 target, 2 catch, 12-yard game. And listen, he had a 28% target share this week. So back-to-back games, huge target share without Darnell Mooney on the field. I think you can buy into it a little bit, but there is obviously a very low floor with Komet. When he comes back, he's your starting tight end, probably.
Oof. Sorry, because punter just got smashed, or the punt returner in the Cowboys game. All right, losers. Deshaun Watson, we discussed. Zay Jones and George Pickens. They combined for 3 catches for 18 yards. Zay Jones had 7 targets, and he stunk. George Pickens had 2 freaking targets. I'm so embarrassed by my George Pickens love, and he was started in 71% of leagues. Heath, these are your losers here. What do you think about Zay Jones and Pickens going forward?
They stink, and like it stinks because I thought we were one more double-digit target game from Zay Jones away from like, hey, we've got a consistent number 3 wide receiver, and he was a disaster against what was supposed to be a good matchup. And it wasn't because they didn't throw the ball enough, because they were winning by so much. They were chasing the score the whole game. And the problem is, and it's been difficult, I think, with Christian Kirk to know he's kind of just followed the matchups. Zay Jones doesn't do that at all. Predicting the good Zay Jones game has been very difficult.
Okay, and do you drop Pickens and Zay Jones?
I would drop Zay before Pickens, but only because I have this bias towards maybe the rookie wide receiver is going to just start being good next week.
All right. We haven't talked about Drake London, by the way. We'll get to him in a little bit.
And I think we have a potential squeaky wheel game for George Pickens because he did throw a fit on the sideline. So,
oh, good.
Dave, use that. They did change up Pickens' role a little bit in this game. He played 36% of his snaps in the slot. His ADOT was less than half of what it was last week. I'm just looking at the metrics. 0.07 yards per route run. That's not good. I'd like to go back and see exactly what the Falcons did and what the Steelers did if they had really changed up his role, because there's no reason for him to only get 2 targets in a game. That just seems very out of character for a receiver this talented.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not dropping George Pickens.
Hidden in the potential of Pickens was hidden, but not discussed maybe enough by me. He barely ever gets more than 6 targets. I mean, 2 is very low, but you're hoping for more targets, and he's kind of stuck at 6 usually. Yeah,
and that's the thing. I have a really hard time separating him and Deontay Johnson. I think they're just both really bad number 3 wide receivers. Pickens had a rushing touchdown that one game, and that was fun.
Another 9.9. Oh, no, that was last week for Deontay Johnson. This week he had 5 catches for 60 yards. Oh, he got to 11 PPR points. That's really great for Deontay Johnson.
Dave's losers are Travis Etienne, Gus Edwards, and Jeff Wilson.
Dave. And let's throw Deontay Johnson in there, too, since I'm in the middle of talking about him. But
go ahead.
We don't have to talk about Deontay Johnson. Etienne, it's now 2. I guess if you throw out the game he got hurt, it's 2 straight games where he really disappointed. Here come the Titans next week, then Dallas after that, then the Jets after that. Not great matchups. If you win in spite of him and you get to week 17, if he's healthy, he's got the Texans. That should be a good matchup, but I don't know. I'm getting a little nervous that Etienne might be letting us down a little bit here down the stretch. So I put him in the loser pile.